You're listening to This Week in Real Estate with your host, Rob Golfi. Brought to you by the Golfi Team at RE/MAX Escarpment, featuring Conrad Zarini, broker-owner of RE/MAX Escarpment Realty Inc., and Brian Hogben, owner of Mission 35 Mortgages. Let's hear what's going on in real estate this week.
What's going on, buddy?
Hey, not much.
Conrad Zarini. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you there. Conrad Zarini, RE/MAX Escarpment, RE/MAX Niagara, broker owner. Anyway, what's going on in the world? Like, what's this market? You and I will never see this again, or will we? We thought we saw that in 2000.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny. There was an article in the Globe Mail today that said, "Don't look at any historical numbers or trends. Nothing can be applied to what's happening today." So that's all I gotta say. Drop the mic.
No kidding. So
we're done.
So I know. So I brought up. Okay, let's start off. I'm going to start off with Hamilton, Halton, and Niagara. So I'm going to do Hamilton. We're already 23% up from last year's numbers in the first 5 to 6 weeks. That's insane.
Yeah.
In Halton, 21%. That's including Milton and Oakville. And well, Matrix doesn't have too much on Oakville stuff, but that's Halton. Yeah. And then Niagara, 19%. Like Conrad, this is like aren't the banks worried about this?
Well, you know, it's interesting because when you looked at last January, we had the similar situation as well. Things really heated up, and then the inventory started to flow in. And I don't know if you remember, but in July of last year, people were doing conditional on sale of a house. So from our numbers, this is the first time we've ever seen like 200 new listings and 208 sales. Normally it was like 80, 90 listings and like 170 sales. So inventory starting to creep up a little bit. A lot of rental too. I've never seen so many rental on the MLS, right?
Yeah.
A lot of rental.
Oh, I know. You know what it is? I think if you're a landlord and you want to rent your place, you actually will get more money for your rental if it is on MLS. You know.
Yeah.
I think, and then put it on Kijiji or anything else like that. But yeah, I just can't believe this. And now, what is it? Toronto is one of the most expensive cities in the country. It outpaced Vancouver. So what are they saying? What are they saying here? Is that Toronto is now the most expensive real estate according to a new report, beating Vancouver for the first time in decades. Toronto's composite MLS home price index benchmark of 1,260,000 was edging out Vancouver's benchmark price of 1.255. Toronto's benchmark price soared over the past 5 months with a 4.3 monthly increase, nearly 52,000 in January alone. Toronto now has become the priciest market in Canada. Single-family homes are up 36% year over year, with gains exceeding 40% in Durham and Peel region. What does that mean to Hamilton and Niagara? More people coming this way.
Well, yeah, definitely people coming this way. That spillover effect that we've seen this trend for the past, 10 to 15 years. And then the pandemic really accelerated it. But, you know, there's interesting news on the horizon in Toronto. A study just came out that the amount of units will outstrip household creation by about 4 or 5% with what's under construction now in Toronto. So a little bit of a shift in what was going on, that, you know, again, that supply side piece. So there could be some relief coming to Toronto, especially I would say in that condo market. Definitely.
Yeah. I my thing is, so here's what I remember for 2016. The market was so hot right up until the end of the end of May. Yeah. I remember because we listed a bunch of properties the first week of June and holding offers, and it just nothing happened. Market, it was just changed overnight. So that stopped. Now in 2017, it stopped the middle of April, even though I'm going blank on the premiere at the time in 2000. 17.
17? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
We hit the wall probably at the end of the spring market, like early summer. We hit a wall. Probably June, you
It was
start to see a
April.
shift. Yeah, yeah,
We saw a shift, but April. It was
the tail end of the
mid-April. They
spring market.
announced that they were going to. Yeah, they were going to, and they were announcing that they were going to change, the foreign tax thing. But the market was changing anyway. Without that, for especially Halton, Niagara. I mean, we don't deal with as many foreign buyers as maybe Toronto and Vancouver does. I don't know. Like, do you hear that?
No,
often?
it's a very small percentage. But there is a study that just came out about immigrants, new immigrants to Canada buy within 4 or 5 years. So you got to remember all those immigrants that came, back in 2012 started buying like in 2017, and and so on and so forth. So that's
drove it up. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you got to remember, like, if we compare Canada to the U.S., I think U.S. brings in 350,000 immigrants a year, whereas Canada brings in 400,000. We're 10% the size, so we're dealing with a huge influx of buying population, right? At that buying age, right? Mm.
Are you kidding? So we're bringing in more immigrants into Canada than the United States is?
Yes.
Wow. Why aren't they bringing in more? They don't. I guess they got a lot of Mexicans crossing the border without.
Well, they have they have their issues with that piece too. But like we're talking like legal, let's say legal immigration that happens in that country. Yeah, it's a steep climb to become a U.S. citizen. It's a real steep climb, right?
No kidding. I had no idea. I thought they were bringing in 10 times, like 3 million people a year or something like that.
No.
And usually it around the world, isn't the United States kind of the first choice on their list? I would assume that the U.S. was always the first choice in most countries. Like even back when I think our parents were immigrating into Canada, I mean, the United States wasn't bringing in as many back then as they, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like,
well, they made the process is more stringent. So you're right. It's probably number one choice, but the process is more stringent. So people will go with the path of least resistance, and
right.
It's a blurred line. Internationally, it's a blurred line between Canada and the U.S. I would say.
Right.
Right. What immigrants think, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you think this it'll settle soon with this market the way it's going? You think it's going to level off?
I think we're seeing inventory. Inventory starting to really come along, and what we're it's funny I've heard of there's still crazy 10, 12, 30. I haven't seen 30 offers, but I've seen like 80 showings and maybe 10 offers. I've seen like 40 showings and maybe only 2 offers. So there's a wait and see. I think people are really looking at what's going to happen with work for them. As we come out of these these protocol changes. I think everything's on the table, totally, and
no, that's awesome. So I just can't believe this. So we are finding the majority of our buyers are GTA. The agents are coming this way. We had one incident. So one of our team members sold a house in December, closing dates in March. Agents from the buyers from Toronto, Mississauga, and so is the agent. So now the agent calls us up and says the buyers can't close. They're having some family issues, financial issues. It's not good. So it doesn't look like it's going to close. What he wants to do, he wants to relist the house himself, and whatever the uplift is, the agent wants to keep it. This agent's so worried about his commission, and I'm like, no way. Like, what are you doing?
No.
I mean, I think our client, they sold this house based on they had to do some work on the house. They had to spend $15,000 to do the fix-ups so the buyer would be happy with the house. Yeah. Now we have an issue here. We need a mutual release with these guys. Now they want their deposit back. This is a part of the business I don't like. Conrad, like, why did they get their deposit back, which they inconvenience our seller? Like, now we got to battle them. I mean, our clients, if we put it back on the market, they'll probably do $100,000 to $150,000 more, no doubt. But the inconvenience of this is terrible. So
what's interesting though is there's a case though, and I think we mentioned it before. There's a case where the people made $250,000 more, and there was a $150,000 deposit, and the buyer got had to forfeit the 150 based on like punitive damages, like they non-fulfillment of the contract. So there is a precedent-setting case. So it's not just, as long as you got the deposit, right?
So can we put this house back on the market and sell it to somebody else? We can't, really,
Yeah, absolutely.
because this guy, but the closing date hasn't come up yet. We need something in writing saying he's not closing.
Well, when is the closing date? When is it?
March next month.
Well, yeah, sometimes you got to wait for that event to happen to clear.
Yeah.
But if you've got some strong indicate, I don't know. I look, at the end of the day,
it's a tough one. Yeah.
And some lawyers will say, just release them and let's move on, because it's still, you're not going to get that money overnight. 150,000, it'd probably take 2 to 3 years before it even saw court. So you might as well, everybody move on and have a nice day.
Exactly. It's not worth the hassle and the fight and the legal fees and all that kind of stuff. So, but
no, it never is.
I know. So what's been happening in the Remax world? Are you heading out to Las Vegas?
Yeah, heading to Vegas. We'll see how that, first conference in a long time, right? Kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see because again, the world comes to Vegas. It's going to be great to talk to people from Greece and, South America, what's happening in their markets. But I will say that North American phenomena about people moving to the outskirts and out of the downtowns and out of the center, the urban cores, has been a phenomena all over the world. So it'll be interesting to see if people are starting to see people come back, like you just mentioned, like we mentioned, maybe people we're starting to see that condo market heating up in Toronto. So that people are going back, right? So we'll have to see how that all, comes to fruition, right?
Yeah.
So I liked you mentioned a cool topic about agents and driving the price, and I thought that was interesting. Today, you were thinking of talking about that, Rob, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's. Go ahead. You can introduce it.
You're talking about when we're holding offers and stuff like that, like driving the price up. You mean?
Yeah, that whole piece, and it's very interesting because there are some studies with regards to, but again, it does drives the price up. But we were talking about agents and how like we're forcing people to drive the price up. It's it's really not us. It's at the end of the day. Like I mentioned, immigration, immigrants buying in the 4 or 5 years, Bank of Mom and Dad, you guys can't even, there's another recent study about Bank of Mom and Dad and how they're driving up the prices because, people are, most people in our generation, like you and I, Rob, are like worried about our kids buying. So, parents are jumping in, rolling up their sleeves and helping their kids. So, they're not waiting to see what this market's going to turn into. They want to get into the market today.
They do. I was just talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and he said, "You know what? I am so glad that I got my son a house a year ago." He goes, "I even waited too long." He goes, "I should have done it even 2 years ago." And he can't believe where the market is right now with the son's house right now. And I go, your son's fortunate that he has family that can help him, but what about these people? They're going to be set back 10, 20 years before they can afford a house. And that's like the only way you can afford a millennial or Gen Z or can afford it is they need the Bank of Mom and Dad or whoever, wait for, to inherit some money. It's like, I don't know how it's going to be. Now, do you think we're going to hit a ceiling where it's going to be unaffordable and it's just going to level off, or it's got to hit that? Interest rates are super low. It just can't continue. Like housing prices jump 50,000, 100,000 every time a new house goes up in the same neighborhood. It just keeps jumping and jumping. It's got to be a ceiling eventually.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about the supply piece, and as we start to see more supply coming to the market, things will kind of level off a little bit. That investor class is a big part of it. What they're doing. How long can a lot of people that buy pre-construction. The rents aren't covering. How long are people going to go with that? And then if interest rates, start to trickle up a bit and they lose more per month, how long are they going to do that? So the market is what I love about the market, and you love it, Rob. You've been in a long time, so have I. The market's like it's free flowing. It's got ebbs and flows, and it flows like water. eventually you'll start to see it'll give, like investor class will give, and you'll start to see units start to come into the market, because the market is saying, hey, listen, this is really ridiculous. You're losing money every month on this rental. It's time to maybe sell it and give somebody an opportunity to own it as their own home, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. No, I know. Well, Conrad, listen, thank you so much for giving us the time, and we'll see you next week again. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Sounds good. Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
great. Take care.
Ciao.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.